Well, hi friends! Are you ready for our weekly Lenormand reading? Today is January 24th. It's a Saturday. I'm actually kind of going to switch up my routine a little bit. I think I'm going to try to do these readings either on Saturday or Sunday, okay? It gives me a little bit more time, to get everything prepared for the week and that sort of thing. And Mondays tend to be hectic, and Tuesdays tend to follow suit. So, all right, let's see what Spirit will have for us this week. Okay, first card out. It's the anchor. The anchor is stability, and it's also, like kind of finality feel to it. So, let's see what that has in store for us here, because it could mean a couple little different things in different contexts. Oh, I feel like it's definitely landing of a either an offer, an invitation, or a connection. Okay, because we've got the flowers as well and the ring. So the lilies, that's your in like a career aspect too. So in relationships, though, it can also be somebody that is, that's been around, connections that stand the test of time, okay? But in a work context, I feel like it's a very good connection, okay? The garden is there as well, so that's kind of like our networking, our shared spaces. It's kind of like where everybody, gets out and enjoys life too. So, given different circumstances, it can be those, whether it's work, but it could also be at the playground, right? It can be all different aspects of that card. So I feel like things are going to be opening up. It has that springtime energy, but the crossroads are there. So that has that opening up feel to it, okay? And the child is there. The child is like, curiosities, playfulness, but it's also happiness, and right next to the flowers, I can't help but think that is what the message is, remain optimistic and positive attitude. I know that the sun is out right now, so that always gives me that energy naturally. I can handle the cold weather as long as there's a little bit of sunshine to go with it. We've had extremely cold temperatures, though, so just, kind of keep your, focus into the future. It won't always be like this. Things will start opening up, okay? All right. We've got the rider. The rider is, you're the horse, right? But the rider, is kind of news coming forward. And then the fox is there, which, the fox is a career card too. But if we're talking about people, beneath it is the bear. I feel like, that's partnerships, right? But I can't help but think of Burr Fox and Burr Bear. Don't throw me in the briar patch. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, no good deed goes unpunished, and but nothing, any harm, no one, if someone's out to harm you, it's kind of like spiritual protection that, no harm can be done feel too, because the snake is in the middle. So that's, kind of like your third party relationships, but we're also still currently in the year of the snake. It doesn't officially change over until sometime in February. I'd have to look up the date, but the rider's above that. So, that horse sometimes can get spooked. So I think that the message is trying to tell us that, no weapon formed against me will cause me harm, was the phrase I was trying to think of. What's meant for you will not pass you by, but I feel a feeling of spiritual protection here. So things that didn't work out, it was there for a reason. If somebody, it can be addressed in all different topics, but let's say it's, a relationship that wasn't healthy for you. I feel like something will come in and take its place, and then you're kind of relieved from that toxicity. So just kind of keep all those thoughts in mind. If a job didn't work out, a relationship didn't work out, that was actually putting you on the right path, okay? But that fox and that bear, I can't, don't throw me in the briar patch. Oh golly. Back when I was, little, I was sent to my room quite a bit. I spent a lot of time in my room. And nowadays it would be like, sure, go ahead. There's lots of things that I can do while I'm being confined. Oh, all right. Next card out is that scythe. That scythe, it can be swift, but it could also be, change is coming, and it can also indicate, like either a surgery, or it could be an uprooting, or it could be change in your, well, in this case, it looks like it's an aha moment. But then the fish are there. So the fish is like, abundance. It's prosperity. It's all of those energies. Well, the sun and the key are right next to the fish. So I feel like things are improving, but more than improving. I think it's going to be even more fruitful and more abundant than, like if the sun weren't there. So the stars are there. The stars are wish fulfillment. And then I see the clover, which is like a lucky break. Now the heart is there next to the scythe. So that could be a little bit of a heartbreak. But not necessarily. I mean, it could just be that there is a change that is, leveling up, feel to it. So, this kind of smacks of, even when things are bad, good things can come from that, okay? So we have to look at, even when something didn't seem, even painful, it can always turn out better than expected. And, I don't talk about this much, but I can relate to this. I had all of my front teeth removed. And, my son Jeffrey, I was so upset about it because that's what your nightmares are made out of, right? And my son Jeffrey said, Mom, you don't realize it yet, but it'll probably be an improvement. And now that I look back, it was probably one of the hardest days of my life, which actually was 1 year after Mike had died, 1 year and 1 day. And I would remember being so scared and so upset, you can't help, because you brush your teeth, you take good care of yourself, and then something like this happens, something unforeseen. But now that I look back, everything has got improved since I've gotten my teeth fixed. And, my smile has improved, my health has improved, my whole, sinuses and that, I used to have all kinds of issue, and now that has all completely cleared up. And your teeth are a direct route to your heart. So that's why I say the heart and the scythe, So just, take care of yourself, but just know that, if something's not meant for you, there is a divine purpose for that, okay? Or something better is around the corner, or an improvement that will take place that maybe might have been unforeseen, okay? All right, sorry I took so long on that one, but I wanted to get my point across. All right, the next card out are those mice. Oh, those mice, I'm telling you what, I need to get a cat. Roxy has, which I have to laugh because the dog is here as well. When there'll be some sort of a movement or whatever in my laundry room, Roxy will literally jump off that couch to go check out that little, noise that was just made. But those are your niggles. Those are the things that create, a dis-ease, right? Or just that uncertainty, not uncertainty, what's the word I'm looking for? Nuisances, let's call them that, okay? Maybe even grievances, or maybe even, just little things that get in the way, okay? You have to try to address what that situation is. Get to the root. So, like, let's say you're going to the doctor and you have something wrong with you. They always want to put a Band-Aid on it instead of fixing that root problem of what could be causing this, okay? I know mice also indicate stress. Stress will kill you if you don't address it, okay? So, be mindful of that. Don't overwork. Don't let the little things bother you. More go with the flow rather than against it. Try not to, my grandmother, she was very nervous energy, and I see myself in her quite a bit. Like whenever there was blood involved, she would freak out. And when the cats came around, she would also she had a phobia against cats, which later on in life she actually got better about. But she would wring her hands all the time. Well, now I find myself doing that. What the hell? All right. Oh, I see. I see a second chance or a big something is it has a blessing in disguise feel to it for sure. But a second chance also feel. And career is highlighted. And then ooh, there's a mystery though about it. So, we're not always meant to know. Sometimes we need to let the universe kind of work its magic and let it be a surprise, a pleasant surprise. Okay. There is some, either something is at a distance or something in the deep past. Okay. And I think spirituality plays a role with this. That's kind of how I evolved into where I am today. My foundational spiritual upbringing and where it has evolved to today. And I can tell you that there is no fear, there is no worry of damnation. There is no, feeling like you're nailed to the cross kind of a feel. I feel like, there's been a lot of improvements there. And, religion can be a little bit, they play on people's fears. And I feel like, we need to play more on love, put more care into the people that surround us rather than, dwelling on all of the negatives. Let's focus on all of the positives, the things that bring us joy and blessing and favor, I call it, right? All right. Oh, there's an offer coming in though. I like to see that. Which I do have a client that just put an offer in on a house, so I like to see that. We'll see how that plays out. I don't know the answer yet because of the book, but I do see some hard work is paying off. But the clouds are there. So the clouds are the thoughts. The clouds are the things that we think that we put into action, right? So I think that this is spirit telling us to be prepared because we've got the whip there too in the sun. So the sun brings out the positive aspects of that whip. So that's a little bit of just preparedness, okay? Sometimes people sit there and wait until that last shoe falls or, going down with the Titanic feel. But, there's things that we can do to prevent some of that, right? That's what we need to work on, okay? I see a little bit of a snake bite though. And I don't know if that's, maybe something that kind of bit you in the butt. Might have something to do with finances or loss of control feel to it as well. Okay. I always, that phrase, the one who cares the least has the most control. And I say the one who cares the least has the most peace. So, don't let people push your buttons, people that are, basically it's them, their issues are coming out and you take it personally and really it's just, that you might be the trigger, right? They might see something in you that disturbs them, but it's something within them that they need to work on and heal from. Okay. Let's see. What else do I see? There might be a young child or a baby or people, changing up possibly some routines there. I say it's good to have routine. Okay. Back when my kids were little, I was prepared. Like the night before I would prepare just so that I didn't get, thrown off my equilibrium. Right. So that's what that feeling, feels like to me. But the more you can do ahead of time, to prepare, that'll help you. Okay. But I see something to do with children in this mix. Now my children are all grown men, and Yeah, there are days I wish I could go back and, snuggle on them and all that. But, you know, my role now is not the mother and nurturer. Now it's more like the support system, conversations and really, really good friends. They don't tell me what I need to do, and I don't tell them what they need to do. If they ask me, if it's solicited advice, I might suggest something, but all of them are very capable young men, and I'm so proud of them. All right, what else do I see? Yeah, people, well, because, it can be this probably for a lot of people, there might be some sort of a changing of, because the change card is in the focal center. There might be some career changes, there might be some relationship changes, okay? But the stars are there. So that's healing, wish fulfillment, divine timing. Um, you know, you couldn't ask for a better card in that position, okay? And then the sun is in the conclusion or the culmination of the layout. So I like to see that. It's just those clouds. So it could just be weather related as well. It could be, things, stirring things up. Sometimes you have to, clear out that old energy so that the new energy can come in as well. Okay. Well, folks, I think that's about it. I think I hit about all of the highlighted points here I wanted to address. But yeah, you have a blessed week, and until next week, take very good care of yourself.